Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving into one of the most fascinating, sophisticated, and, let's be real, totally underappreciated systems in the entire human body. We're going to take a journey inside your body's ultimate biological water treatment plant, the human kidney. So let's jump right in and see exactly how nature engineered a filtration system that's honestly way more advanced than any human-made facility out there. To really wrap our heads around the sheer scale of this operation, just consider this number for a second. 180. That is the number of liters of blood that your kidneys filter every single day. I mean, think about that. Your kidneys are continuously pressure washing an incredible 180 liters of fluid just to keep your internal environment perfectly balanced. But here's where the mystery kind of kicks in. Despite taking in that massive 180 liters of filtrate, the daily output, the actual amount of urine a healthy adult produces, is only about 1.5 liters, right? So you've got to wonder, what on earth happens to the other 178.5 liters? How does our body reclaim all that fluid? And honestly, why go to the trouble of filtering so much in the first place? Well, to answer that, here's our roadmap for today. We'll cover 1. The body's waste problem. 2. Anatomy of the filter. 3 steps to urine. 4. Concentrating the filtrate. 5. Regulating kidney function. And 6. When things go wrong. Okay, let's get into it. Section 1. The body's waste problem. Let's talk nitrogenous wastes. So before we look at the actual machinery, we need to understand the material it's processing. As our bodies go about their daily metabolic business, we build up byproducts. Things like carbon dioxide, water, and various ions. But the absolute most troublesome ones? Nitrogenous wastes. Now, it's actually fascinating how different animals solve this nitrogen problem based on where they live. Take aquatic animals like bony fishes. They're ammonotelic. They just excrete ammonia directly. Now, ammonia is highly toxic and requires a massive amount of water to flush out, which, is totally fine if you literally live in a lake. But terrestrial animals like birds and reptiles, they're urocolic. They convert waste into a low-toxicity uric acid paste to save as much water as possible. And then there's us. Mammals sit right in the middle as ureotelic creatures. In our livers, we take that toxic ammonia and convert it into a moderately toxic substance called urea. That urea hits the bloodstream, and that's exactly where our kidneys step in to filter it out, striking this perfect balance between managing toxicity and conserving our precious water. Section 2. Anatomy of the filter. Taking a look at the urinary system. So how exactly does the body snag that urea out of the bloodstream? Well, at the center of our internal filtration facility, we have a pair of reddish-brown bean-shaped structures, the kidneys. They're tucked right away close to the dorsal inner wall of your abdominal cavity. From these kidneys, the waste travels down a pair of tubes called the ureters, pools up in the urinary bladder for storage, and is eventually expelled through the urethra. The whole shebang. And when we actually slice a kidney open, the architecture inside is just striking. Enclosed by this really tough outer capsule, you'll find two main zones. You've got the outer zone, the cortex, and the inner zone, the medulla. And you'll find the medulla is divided into these incredible conical masses. Those are the medullary pyramids. These pyramids project right into funnel-shaped spaces called calyces, which basically act like catch basins for the final waste product before it heads out of the kidney. But listen, those pyramids, they're just the scaffolding. The real magic is happening on a microscopic level. Enter the nephron. The nephron is the true functional unit of the kidney. And get this, here's a staggering fact for you. You have nearly 1 million of these complex tubular structures packed into each and every kidney. Every single nephron starts with a specialized structure called the Malpighian body. Blood rushes in through a fine artery and forms this tight tuft of capillaries known as the glomerulus. Now, this glomerulus is wrapped super snugly inside a double-walled, cup-like structure called Bowman's capsule. You can basically think of the glomerulus as a high-pressure sieve. The blood pressure in there is so intense that it literally forces plasma, minus the large proteins, of course, right through the filtration slits into Bowman's capsule. And that right there is our ultrafiltration process. Moving on to Section 3, 3 steps to urine, processing that filtrate. Okay, so now that the raw fluid, the filtrate, has been squeezed out of the blood, it enters this highly dynamic manufacturing process. Step 1, which we literally just covered, is glomerular filtration. That's pressure washing the blood to create the raw filtrate. Step 2 is reabsorption. Remember how we filter 180 liters but only output 1.5? Well, reabsorption is where the renal tubules reclaim 99% of the water, glucose, and amino acids and shove them right back into the bloodstream. Finally, step 3 is secretion. This is where the body actively deposits specific ions, like potassium and hydrogen, straight into the tubule to ensure your bodily fluids maintain a perfect acid-base balance. And all of this is happening on a microscopic chemical assembly line. As the fluid travels, it first hits the proximal convoluted tubule, or PCT, which rapidly reabsorbs 70 to 80% of the nutrients and water. Next, the fluid takes a dive down into a hairpin-shaped structure called Henle's loop. This loop is absolutely vital for maintaining a high osmolarity, basically saltiness, in the surrounding tissue. From there, it heads to the distal convoluted tubule, the DCT, where the body conditionally reabsorbs sodium based on exactly what you need at that very moment. And finally, the fluid enters the collecting duct, this long tube that pulls out even more water to finalize a highly concentrated urine. Section 4. Concentrating the filtrate. Let's look at water conservation. This brings us to, honestly, one of the most brilliant pieces of biological engineering in the human body, how we conserve water while still aggressively flushing out toxins. It's achieved through something called the countercurrent mechanism, and it's basically exactly what it sounds like, a system defined by the opposite flow of fluids. So filtrate flows down one side of Henle's loop and up the other. Meanwhile, the blood in the parallel capillary network, which is called the vasa recta, flows in the exact opposite direction. This opposing flow creates and maintains this incredibly concentrated gradient of salts deep within the kidney's medulla. Now, I know the biology here might sound a bit complex, but the logic? It's just beautiful. It's incredible how sodium chloride and small amounts of urea are continuously cycled between the ascending and descending limbs of the loop and the vasa recta. They're intentionally trapped in the surrounding tissue space. Because this tissue becomes so incredibly salty, it acts like a giant sponge, passively pulling water out of the collecting duct through osmosis. Thanks to this clever little mechanism, human kidneys can produce urine that is nearly 4 times more concentrated than the initial filtrate. How cool is that? Section 5. Regulating kidney function, the hormonal feedback loop. So the kidney doesn't just run blindly on a static loop. It actually has these microscopic site managers making adjustments on the fly. For instance, let's say you get dehydrated and lose body fluid. Osmoreceptors in your body immediately sound the alarm. They signal the hypothalamus in your brain to release antidiuretic hormone, or ADH. ADH immediately tells the later parts of the kidney tubules to aggressively reabsorb water, preventing any excess urine loss. Plus, it constricts your blood vessels to bump up your blood pressure, which ensures the kidney keeps filtering effectively. But, it's a super delicate balance. If your blood pressure and filtration rate drop too low, a special region in the kidney kicks off the renin-angiotensin mechanism. Think of this as the gas pedal. It powerfully ramps up blood pressure and sodium reabsorption to get things flowing again. But to keep this from spiraling out of control, your heart actually plays a role too. An increase in blood flow to the heart triggers atrial natriuretic factor, or ANF. This acts as a crucial emergency brake to check the renin-angiotensin system, dial it back down, and keep your blood pressure perfectly balanced. Section 6. When things go wrong. Looking at kidney disorders. We've seen how incredibly elegant and complex this machinery is. But what happens when the filter fails? The stakes here are, quite literally, life and death. Because if those nitrogenous wastes aren't removed, they rapidly poison your internal environment. When the kidneys malfunction, urea quickly accumulates in the blood, a highly harmful condition known as uremia. To save lives, modern medicine has to step in with hemodialysis. And what's truly incredible here is that an artificial kidney uses the exact same passive concentration gradients we just talked about. Blood is pumped into a coiled cellophane tube surrounded by dialyzing fluid. Since that fluid has zero nitrogenous wastes, the urea naturally diffuses out of the blood right through the porous cellophane. It mechanically clears the blood, buying vital time for uremic patients. It's a real game changer. Now, it is definitely worth noting that the kidneys aren't flying entirely solo here. Our bodies have some great built-in backups for waste management. Your lungs are continuously removing carbon dioxide. The liver, our largest gland, clears out degraded hormones and cholesterol. Even your skin chips in. Sweat glands help eliminate water, salts, and small amounts of urea, basically utilizing your body's massive surface area to assist in the whole excretion process.
We've covered a ton of ground today, exploring exactly how the human body handles its waste problem. So, given that your microscopic water treatment plant tirelessly filters 180 liters of blood every single day just to produce 1.5 liters of perfectly concentrated waste, are you giving it the hydration it deserves? Seriously, go drink a glass of water, thank your nephrons, and keep staying curious. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you next time.